Hello and welcome to this video. Today's video, as you already know by the title, is seeing how many 5-star reads I can read. So I know lots of people do videos where it's like, oh, this video ends when I read a 5-star read. But I kind of wanted to do it slightly differently and do my own take on it. I just wanted to do my own spin on it basically. So I'm picking out 5 books in total, which I'm fairly hoping and certain that of my TBR that is remaining are most likely to be 5-star reads for me. I pray to God. And I want to see how many of them are, if any of them are at all, or if they all are, anything like that. So I have 4 here, and there's a reason for that. So we're gonna get through them and just, yeah, see how many are. So we're gonna start with Where the Crawdads Sing. This is the one I'm like least confident about, but I love the cover. I don't really know anything about it going in, and I would like to go into these blind, but I am going to read you the summaries before I begin reading them. But I do like the thought of it and the whole aesthetic, so I think it could be a good one, and I've heard good things. Then we've also got The Truth About Love by Maisie Myers. I've honestly had this on my shelf for probably almost a year, and I'm so desperate to get to it, and it's so beautiful. Like, the chapter artworks and things are just incredible. Like, I'm sorry, but tell me that that is not stunning. So we also obviously have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I still haven't read this yet. I hear amazing things about this. I haven't heard such good things about the second one, but to be honest, I think I'll probably just end up loving the whole series. But I do think that of what I know, this one potentially will be a 5-star, hopefully, because I love small town vibes, and like, just like, I've only just finished rereading Archer's Voice, and like that book, it gets me. It's so good. And then I thought, to mix it up so that it's not all romance, to break up the romance, I'm going to do The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, because, again, this one I just think is right up my street. Like, magicians, and like, I'm not a big fantasy girly yet, but I'd like to try and get into the genre. And also, can we appreciate how stunning all of the artwork in this is as well? Like, honestly, so beautiful. And then the 5th and final book that we're going to be reading as well is going to be Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney, but the reason that I don't have that in this pile is because I have it on Kindle, not physical. So I think how we're going to do it is we're going to start with Crawdads, then probably do The Atlas 6, then The Truth About Love, Rock Paper Scissors, and Things We Never Got Over. We're going to get started reading Where the Crawdads Sing. So I'm just quickly going to read you the summary before I start reading it. For years, rumours of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead... Ooh, is there a bit of murder mystery in this? The locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be loved. When 2 young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. Ooh, this actually sounds really good. To almost the 50-page mark, and basically Chase has been found dead, but they're wondering like who could have done it and how, because there's like no footprints around the body, like not even his own. And I'm gonna cook a mushroom risotto for dinner. just read to page 111. I'm at the start of chapter 17, and they've just said the title of the book. They said, so basically her and Tate are talking, and he says, well, we better hide you way out there where the crawdads sing. I pity any foster parents who take you on. Tate's whole face smiled. What do you mean, where the crawdads sing? Ma used to say that. Kaya remembered Ma always encouraging her to explore the marsh. Go as far as you can, way out yonder, where the crawdads sing. So I just finished chapter 17. It was quite a long chapter actually, and we got to some romance. Hi guys, so I finished this book last night, and I'm kind of conflicted with my thoughts and opinions on this, really, to be perfectly honest. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was something different. Like, don't get me wrong, I did like this book. By the way, also, there probably will be spoilers in this video, just to let you know before I get started. I did enjoy it. I thought it was a very refreshing and unique concept, and I've never really read a book like it, especially where it's like coming of age, slice of life, bit of romance, bit of murder mystery, everything sort of thrown in and rolled into one. And I really loved how like vivid the imagery of the scenery and the landscape and all the animals and stuff was, and how that was like a big part of this. It kind of, to me, felt a little bit like a book of two halves. So in this first bit, we have a lot of backstory of Kaya growing up, and then a little bit of hints towards this murder mystery aspect that's happening in their present time. And then at the end, it's a lot more of the murder mystery and barely any of the backstory. It wasn't like evenly dispersed throughout, I didn't think. What I did like was how connected to the main character we got, and how through us basically seeing her grow up throughout her entire life, we felt those emotions for her and things. I will say, I don't like the fact that we didn't find out who did the murder until the very last page, and that we didn't get a proper explanation of how and why it happened. I mean, I can gather why. The fact that Kaya killed Chase after what he did to her, like, props to her, but, you know, violence isn't the answer and all that. However, I just want to know if, like, their theory of how she did it was right or not. And also, like, the fact that she did do it, I was like, well, that's a bit out of character, because I don't feel like that's the type of person that she is. But then at the same time, I like the fact that it was kind of hinted at that as if the marsh had like helped her cover it up, and that the marsh was her only friend, really, throughout the whole thing, that had been there with her through it all. I'm guessing that's kind of what it's meant to say, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Off the top of my head, I'm giving it like 3.75 stars. So not a 5, unfortunately, which is the whole point and purpose of this video. But I am going to do probably a little roundup section at the end, where once I've let these books sit with me for a while, I will then see if my opinion has changed. But for the moment, I think a 3.75, but I do recommend, and I really want to watch the film. So now we're on to the Atlas 6, book number 2 for this video. I'm going to be so sad if I do not rate this book 5 stars and don't love it, because I really want to get into some dark academia and some like fantasy. The fact that this is like magicians, secret society, dark academia, like all that stuff, I think is right up my street. 6 extraordinary magicians, 5 chances to win 1 secret society. He knew even before he started talking that they would all accept the offer. It was a formality, really. Nobody turned down the Alexandrian Society. Even those pretending disinterest would be unable to resist. They would fight, he knew, tooth and nail to survive the next year of their lives, and if they were as steadfast and talented as the society presumed them to be, most of them would. Most of them. Welcome to the Alexandrian Society. When the world's best magicians are offered an extraordinary opportunity, saying yes is easy. Each could join the secretive Alexandrian Society, whose custodians guard lost knowledge from ancient civilizations. Their members enjoy a lifetime of power and prestige. Yet each decade, only 6 practitioners are invited to fill 5 places. Contenders Libby Rhodes and Nico di Verona are inseparable enemies, cosmologists who can control matter with their minds. Am I sensing enemies to lovers? Who knows? I could be way off. Parissa Kamali is a telepath who sees the mind's deepest secrets. Raina Mori is a naturalist who can perceive and understand the flow of life itself, and Callum Nova is an empath who can manipulate the desires of others. Finally, there's Tristan Kane, whose powers mystify even himself. Following recruitment by the mysterious Atlas Blakely, they travel to the Society's London headquarters. Here, each must study and innovate within esoteric subject areas, and if they can prove themselves over the course of a year, they'll survive. Most of them. Oh, I can't wait. Let's get reading. About 45 pages in. I'm really enjoying it so far. Basically all that's happened is we've got a bit of insight into each of the characters, we've met each of them, they've been given the card to as like an invitation to the society, and yeah, we've kind of got to know a little bit about their backstory and their powers and things, but not in great detail. I love the little art style of all of the artworks in this. I think it's beautiful. I'm actually curious and I wonder, does anyone actually ever read hardbacks with the dust jacket on? Like, I have sometimes before, but it just gets so super annoying and just in the way, and I always put it back on afterwards or whenever I stop reading. It's kind of giving Four Horsemen energy from Now You See Me, in the sense that like they kind of have to prove their worth to be accepted. Like, that's really what I'm getting from this so far, but as I say, we've only been introduced to the characters, so we've got a long way to go. So I've made it up to page 115. I've just finished reading the battle section, now I'm up to space. And the battle bit was really interesting because that was quite nice to sort of see some of it all in action. And so yeah, basically everyone's been introduced and we've sort of had a glimpse into what some of them can do, more so than others. I'm loving the vibes of this, like so much. At the minute, do I think it's going to be a 5-star? I'm not sure. I'm not getting that feeling yet, but I am only like a third of the way through the book, maybe. So I've just got up to page 223 and I'm on part 6, Thought. We're kind of like really getting into the crux of the story now, which is so much better for me. Like, I prefer it being fast paced with more going on, and we've gotten to know each of them and their abilities. Some of them we know more in depth than others. There's only really one character of the 6 that I don't really like, and that's Callum. I don't know why. But I kind of like Nico, Libby, Raina, Parissa and all that, so yeah, I'm very intrigued to see where the story goes, because we just found something out, or Parissa's just found something out that I don't really know how that's going to play out. If this book ends on a cliffhanger, I'm going to be fuming, although I do already want to read the next one. I wouldn't say it's a 5-star feeling yet, obviously there's still time, but maybe this video won't go as I planned, but we'll see. One of our characters has like randomly been popping up in places and I'm like, is he actually a villain or something like more to do with this story? I'm so confused. Like, I just want to finish this now because... So I've just finished the Atlas 6. I really enjoyed this book. I did find it a little bit hard to like understand and follow at points, just because there was so much kind of like almost scientific sounding stuff going on. I was just a little bit lost, and I was like, had a headache and my concentration just wasn't really there. But as my first like kind of dark academia book, I did really enjoy it. Unfortunately, I have to say I don't think it's a 5-star read. If I'm being honest, it's probably like a 4-star for me, because there were just some things that, like I say, I struggled to grasp, but I did love this book. Kind of like, not really left off on a cliffhanger, but it's made me want to read the second one, but I don't own the second one, and I'm on a year-long book buying ban. So yeah, that's gonna have to wait till next year, unfortunately. Now I think we're gonna move on to The Truth About Love by Maisie Myers. I've had this book, honestly, for so long, and I'm so desperate to read it. But also, look, like, can we just talk about how beautiful the artwork on the pages is? Like, stunning. Quickly read you the blurb. I love him with every broken piece of me, but what happens when that isn't enough? What happens when the future I was promised is ripped away by the person I love the most? He told me he would wait for me, but when I show up at his house ready to finally live the love story we've been longing for, it isn't him that answers the door, it's his wife. So I read up to page 117 last night. My god, I am loving this book. I'm flying through it, and I haven't flown through a book in so long. I haven't read like a good romance in such a long time. Look how much I've tabbed already. Like, I've tried not to. This book is so good. I think this is definitely going to be one of my favourites, and possibly our first 5-star read of this video. Auden and Summer Rain have just met. And they're like still teenagers and just starting to like get together and stuff. So I think this book is actually split into 3 parts, because we have like part 2. So part 2 is like 5 years later from where we are at the moment, and then part 3 is 2 years later, but I'm guessing that's 2 years later than part 2. Oh my god, this book has took a turn. It's got so sad. I've just got up to page 196, so I'm just about to start part 2. Oh, things are going so well, and then they weren't. Going into this book, I didn't really know an awful lot about it, right? So I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be a fun, cute, emotional romance. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm loving it, but it's got a bit heavy. So definitely check trigger warnings if you're going to read this one. Like, this book just ripped my heart out, threw it on the floor, and stomped onto it into like a million little pieces, and then just like scattered it in the wind. I don't want to keep reading, but I want to, because I want to get to a point where they're together again, which who even knows if that's going to happen. I'm on page 239. I want to read you this quote because it won't really be a spoiler, I don't think, and it probably won't mean anything to anyone out of context, but it says, "I don't regret what I did, I never have. Letting him go was the best thing I could have ever done for him, but that hasn't stopped my heart from beating his name every second of every day for the last 5 years." I mean, we're still only in part 2, we still got to finish this and then get through part 3, which sounds like it might be a bit heartbreaking again, but literally the first part I highlighted so much because it was just them falling in love, which was so cute, and it was the happy portion of the book, and I didn't realise that it was going to be kind of heavy and sad. But yeah, like I said earlier, definitely check trigger warnings because this is a bit more of a heavy emotional read. Oh my god, no, stop. Okay, I need to read you this line as well. So it says, "He got the answers he wanted, and I hope they bring him the closure he needs. Maybe now he can move on properly and give his heart completely to blank. He can stop calling her babe and start calling her baby, just as long as he doesn't call her pretty girl. That one will always belong to me." There's another great bit I want to read you. So he's saying, It is your fault, he roars. It's your fault that I couldn't stop thinking about you enough to focus on my own girlfriend. It's your fault that with every woman I've taken to bed since you left, it's you that I've imagined beneath me. It's your fault that I'm too hung up on my damn high school girlfriend to love blank the way she wants me to, the way she deserves me to. All of it, every single second of the pain, misery and suffering I've faced over the last 5 years is because of you. I want this book to end a certain way so badly, and I hope to God that it does. Like, if it doesn't, I might cry. But so far I'm loving this book so much, and it is 100% a new favourite of mine, and possibly, I'm not going to speak too soon because I haven't finished it yet, and the ending does bear quite a lot of weight on my thoughts, but possibly we might have our first 5-star read of the video. So I'm actually kind of trying to train myself to get a bit better at vlogging outside in public. So if I go a bit like quiet, it's because I see people, but yeah, I'm out on my little walk, and yeah, it's quite nice and refreshing actually. I'm not going to be too much longer. I'm literally coming home now and I'm in the shade because I'm pale and I burn super easily and quickly, and I don't want to be burnt, so we're going to read in a second. Okay, so we've just had the part where they were meant to reunite after they both promised 2 years ago that they would wait for each other. To be fair, Summer Rain has every right to be pissed here. Like, I would be so annoyed. But then he did say this. So, he said, "Loving you was never the hard part, Summer Rain. That's always been as easy to me as breathing. It was never a choice or a decision I made. I fell in love with you because my heart didn't know how to do anything else. Loving you was the only thing that ever made any sense to me. Please don't think you were hard to love, baby, because that couldn't be further from the truth." No, stop. These two just need to sort themselves out and get back together. Okay, we've just been introduced to Max, and I love him so much. So he said, "Sweetheart, you could have grease in your hair and grit in your teeth, and I'd still think you were hot as hell." I very strongly dislike Cara. What a bully. I knew it. I knew there had to be a reason why he married her, because he doesn't love her. She's so evil, and I knew he was sort of like trapped, and I guessed it. No, you cannot be serious. So he goes to kiss her, and she goes, "I can't kiss you while another woman still wears your ring, Auden." "Yeah, I get it. Tonight," he says, walking towards my front door. "I'll be back tonight if you'll have me. Always. And then you'll be mine again. I already am quarterback. I already am." I finished the book. Oh my god, I loved it so much. Can you tell by my tabs? This was everything that I've been waiting and wanting to read recently. Like, oh, it's just made me so happy. And I was right with my prediction. So if you can't already tell and guess, I'm giving this book 5 stars. Like, I loved it so much, and it's so weird because I've been wanting something to make me feel all the emotions like Archer's Voice did since then, and this isn't, I'm not saying that this is exactly like Archer's Voice, don't misunderstand what I'm saying there, and this is quite heavy and it does have like quite a lot of toxic traits, and it's not probably not for everyone, but this book just made me so giddy. It made me feel all the emotions. I was all over the place, but I'm gonna have to try and absorb what I've just read and take it all in, and now I'm sad because I know I'll never get to read it for the first time again. I loved it. So yeah, we have our first 5 star of the video. So next up, I think I'm gonna read Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney on my Kindle. just read the first chapter and I've got to say I love how already it's got that eerie, creepy, spooky vibe, and I just want to keep reading because you're immediately just drawn straight into everything that's going on. I am really enjoying it so far. I wonder if this will be another 5-star. Hopefully it will. And I've just got the blurb up on Goodreads, so I'm just going to read it to you quickly because I didn't even read it before starting the book. So it says, "Think you know the person you married? Think again. Things have been wrong with Mr. and Mrs. Wright for a long time. When Adam and Amelia win a weekend away to Scotland, it might be just what their marriage needs. Self-confessed workaholic and screenwriter Adam Wright has lived with face blindness his whole life. He can't recognise friends or family or even his own wife. Every anniversary the couple exchange traditional gifts: paper, cotton, poetry, tin, and each year Adam's wife writes him a letter that she never lets him read, until now. They both know this weekend will make or break their marriage, but they didn't randomly win this trip. One of them is lying and someone doesn't want them to live happily ever after." Ooh, that sounds really interesting. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secrets, and an anniversary they will never forget. Ooh. Perhaps I'll do like a part 2 to this another time, or just redo this video again with another selection of books. I have quite enjoyed it and I do think it's quite a lot of fun. So obviously our two main characters are rather unlikable and everyone's keeping secret, and we've also been introduced to a third character who lives near where they're staying, and I think everyone's all connected. I have some theories about what's happened and how everyone is connected, so I'm interested to see if I'm right at all in any way. I'm 56% of the way through on page 176, and yeah, this book is just so good. Like, the chapters are really short, everything ends off on like a mini cliffhanger, and I'm just like, I can't stop reading and put it down. So hopefully it should be very easily doable that I can finish this today. I just finished the book. Oh my god, guys, this book was wild and crazy, and I literally read it in like 2 sittings. I flipping loved it. My guess was along the right lines, but not accurate. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit confused by what was actually true and what wasn't, because there was like 3 different versions of the same event. But I thoroughly, really enjoyed this, and we have another 5-star of the video because that is the best thriller that I've read in a long time. I was just so drawn in and hooked and sucked into it that that was all I could concentrate on. So yeah, really loved that one, would highly recommend. And now for the last book of this video, the final book that we're going to go on to see whether the majority of these are going to be 5 stars or not, because so far we've had 2 that are and 2 that aren't. The last book for this video is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I've heard such great things about this book, and I'm hoping it's gonna be along the like Archer's Voice, Truth About Love kind of lines, so we will see. I'm gonna read you the blurb. Bearded bad boy Barbara Knox prefers to live... Cool, that's a bit of alliteration, isn't it? Bearded bad boy Barbara Knox prefers to live his life the way he takes his coffee, alone. Unless you count his basset hound, Waylon. Knox doesn't tolerate drama, even when it comes in the form of a stranded runaway bride. Naomi wasn't just running away from her wedding, she was riding to the rescue of her estranged twin to Knockemout, Virginia, a rough-around-the-edges town where disputes are settled the old-fashioned way, with fists and beer, usually in that order. Too bad for Naomi that her evil twin hasn't changed at all. After helping herself to Naomi's car and cash, Tina leaves her with something unexpected, the niece Naomi didn't know she had. Now she's stuck in town with no car, no job, no plan, and no home, with an 11-year-old going on 30 to take care of. There's a reason Knox doesn't do complications or high-maintenance women, especially not the romantic ones. But since Naomi's life imploded right in front of him, the least he can do is help her out of her jam. And just as soon as she stops getting into new trouble, he can leave her alone and get back to his peaceful, solitary life. At least that's the plan, until the trouble turns to real danger. Ooh, sounds very interesting. But I am really really enjoying this story so far. I've got to the part where they've just met Lisa J. Lisa? It's with a Z. And not much has happened yet, but I'm really liking it so far. Very pleasantly surprised, and I've heard good things, so I'm not shocked that I like it. So I've just made it to chapter 10, page 89, and it's called Haircuts and Pains on the Arse. I love the fact that the chapters have names in this. I love it when books do that. But we've been introduced to Nash, Lucian's been mentioned, Sloane we've just been introduced to. We've got a bit of cowboy aesthetic going on now with the bar that she's working in. We're getting into some banter and into a bit more of the story, and their connection starting to hopefully build soon. It's going really good, and I love the chapter that I just read of her shift in the bar, so oh my god, I love their nicknames for each other. He calls her Daisy and she calls him Viking. Steph and Jeremiah have just met, and I'm loving for their little like flirty romance that I'm predicting is probably going to be on the cards. And we started to get to some... I'm at the part where I'm on page 165 and Naomi's getting a haircut in his salon. I'm loving Steph and Jeremiah's little banter, and I really hope they get their own book because I need a book with them and their... So I've just finished chapter 29 and I'm up to page 272, and I just want to read you this little bit. So basically, Knox and Naomi are having a discussion about basically why Naomi feels like she has to be the good daughter because Tina's always like messed everything up and she doesn't want her parents to be like really upset and disappointed. So she goes, "This is what it's like living in my brain." He goes, "It's exhausting." And then she goes, "It is, and the one time I do something that's purely selfish and just for me, it blows up in my face." "What did you do for you?" he asked. "I had a one-night stand with a grumpy tattooed barber." Guys, okay, this video is finally finished because I finally finished Things We Never Got Over last night. This book took me a while to read because it's thick. I'm very conflicted on my thoughts and opinions for this book because on paper, right, typically it's right up my street, right down my alley. You'd think that there's no way that I wouldn't give this book 5 stars. However, I did enjoy it, so this isn't to say that I didn't enjoy it, but there were some things about it that I don't know if it's just the time that I read it I wasn't in the mood for it, or the fact that I had only just read like a romance that I really loved before this, but it didn't quite give me that 5-star feeling, so it didn't quite do it for me. So I think I'm gonna do a quick recap of what we've read and what I would rate things now that they've had a bit of time to sit with me. So I will give my rating of this one at the end. We started off with Where the Crawdads Sing, which I think I would give a 3.75 stars. I cannot remember what I initially gave each of these books as soon as I'd finished them, but on reflection and at this point in time, obviously it always kind of changes a little bit anyway depending on mood and things, but at this point in time I would give Where the Crawdads Sing 3.75. The Atlas 6, I have a feeling that I think I gave the Atlas 6 like a 4 stars, but I think I'm going to bump it down to a 3.75. I'm so sorry, I know it's like a fan favourite, but I was confused and I would probably rate it on the same level as Where the Crawdads Sing. Then we read The Truth About Love, which, 5 stars. I love that book so much, like so much depth and detail and emotion, and I just, I can't stop thinking about it. Then we read Rock Paper Scissors, and this was like fast-paced, punchy. Literally read it in like 1 or 2 days, and all the twists and things, like, yes, 5 stars again, loved it. And I'm so glad that I finally read an Alice Feeney book. And then lastly, the final book that we read was Things We Never Got Over, which I think I'm going to give, at the minute, a 4.25 stars. I know it's oddly specific and probably quite low compared to some people, but there were just some things that throughout it did really irk me and make me cringe a bit. I don't know, there was just something missing, and some things that did get to me, and the fact that these characters were as old as they are. Like, I'm not one that has to have a realistic book, right? I quite like the more unrealistic the better, but this was just like, it was as if their character traits were used to the extreme just to push the plot along in places, I think, is what it was. And it was meant to be like fake dating, which is one of my favourite tropes, but it just wasn't fake dating. Like, it wasn't like they were doing it for show, it was literally they were just spending time together on their own. I did enjoy it, and it was really cute when they were together and everything was good and happy, and then the twists at the end were quite interesting, but yeah, I think I'd have to say a 4.25, so unfortunately not a 5, which I'm kind of sad about. But I wonder if I would have read this before The Truth About Love, if I would have rated it higher. That's an interesting thing. I always think, like, the order that you read things in sometimes can influence your ratings and opinions. All in all, to conclude this video, I had 5 5-star predicted books and only 2 of them were 5 stars, so I'm really glad that I did this actually, because it's got through some of my like immediate yearly TBR that I really wanted to get through. And if you liked it, let me know, because I can always do another one, because I've got some more predicted 5-star reads that I really want to get to, and I'm looking for any excuse to read them for a video. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, please do give it a big thumbs up. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one very soon.